Every week, or every 2 weeks when I hear this music, Steve, I really reconsider that poll from a few weeks ago that I couldn't be a cowboy.
That one really stuck with you, huh?
It's like on the main podcast when we talked about how, for whatever reason, I wanted to be a farmer. Well, I hear this music, and inexplicably, it makes me want to be a cowboy, even though we spent a ton of time talking about how awful it is, and about how every adaptation on movie or TV about being a cowboy is the same, and it's John Wayne sleeping against a tree with his hat pulled over his eyes.
And a piece of straw hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah, and listen, I need a memory foam pillow. That's where I'm at in my life.
So, you want to be like a modern-day cowboy. With all the conveniences of home, you got your fancy new car.
Yep.
You still going to wear spurs?
I think so. I don't know why. I feel like it's just going to get caught on all the carpet and end up causing real damage to my house. But I feel like if you don't have spurs and you don't have horses, you literally cannot be a cowboy.
You are not a cowboy.
And as we all know, Steve, I cannot be a cowboy.
Sure,
I cannot have horses. I cannot have horses around me. So if those are the requisites, I cannot be a cowboy. But
I can be a cowboy, though. It seemed like the popular consensus was I could handle the cowboy lifestyle.
Yeah, this audience is so stupid.
Well, we don't want to dive back into that conversation again. How about we jump right? Should we jump right into the
We digress.
Yeah, we digress. Of course. Yeah, let's just get right into the Fast Five right now.
Fast Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, Steve, I will take it away this week. First on my Fast Five, Ozark. Are you an Ozark guy? I feel like we've talked about this before.
I'm not yet. But the only reason I'm not is because Annette and I just started watching something else that we've been meaning to watch for years. But Ozark is going to be the next show that we watch, I think.
Hang on. We'll talk about what you're watching that you've wanted to watch for years on the turnaround.
Yeah.
Next up on the Fast Five, the NFL Draft. Are you surprised? Are you even? You're not a sports or a football guy. Are you morbidly curious about what this is going to look like in 2 weeks?
I think it's going to. I mean, it's going to look like every late night show that's on TV now,
right?
Where it's just a bunch of boxes and people, trying to be entertaining in some way because they're doing it from home, right? Everyone's gonna have their little webcam on. Can you imagine like Bill Belichick? That guy, he was quoted earlier this week as saying, like, every day I'm learning a new button to push and a new wire to connect. Are we actually going to hear him? Are we going to hear that guy, sitting at his house, with his dog on his lap?
Yeah, and second question, do we want to? Football guys notorious for being, I don't need no dang computers. I got my 2 eyeballs and the sniff test. I know everything I need to know about football by the smell of the leather on the ball.
So when is that coming up? In a couple of weeks?
I believe that is not this week, Steve, but the following week, the last week in April. So
morbid curiosity,
because this is a television event. Like the NFL Draft gets a ton of viewers, and I mean, this is obviously unprecedented times, and for old, stubborn-headed, 98% of them, white guys, this is going to be quite a pivot for them here this week. Speaking of stubborn-headed white guys, Dana White.
He seems like the most stubborn of all of them. I mean,
he seems just like an idiot, right? Like we can say it.
I mean, I get it. I understand what the appeal would be of being the only sport on TV during a pandemic. Your ratings are going to be monstrous, and you're going to. Now was that going to be on? That was going to be on ESPN, right?
ESPN Plus is their pay-per-view platform. Okay. You have to have ESPN Plus to then buy the pay-per-view. But
sure.
We're talking about buying private islands to sequester fighters. I mean, it's insane, but he claims within 3 weeks, Steve, he will be back on television for a UFC event in the first week in May. So we'll see on that.
Yeah, let's see.
Next, Steve, it debuted this last weekend, The Last Dance.
I really want to watch that. That's
you do?
Yeah, it's the 10-part documentary, the ESPN 30 for 30 about the Chicago Bulls. Like
the 1997 Chicago Bulls, Steve, the last year of the Bulls dynasty. I don't know if this will have the level of permeation like that the OJ thing did. Because the OJ thing kind of transcended sports, right? Like it talked a lot about OJ, and obviously people were more fascinated by that because he murdered people allegedly. Whereas, this is literally about one basketball season. But in a sports-starved world, people will take what they can get. So you're going to be tuning in. You're going to be tuning in every Sunday.
Well, I don't have cable though.
It's on ABC, Steve.
Oh, it is.
It's going to be on ABC, I believe, all 10 hours. Yeah.
When does that start? This week?
It started last Sunday, April 19.
All right. That's right. Last Sunday.
Of
course, last Sunday.
19.
And lastly, this is definitely not recorded in advance. I forget that all the time.
It's weird how your calendar gets all screwed up. You know, hashtag quarantine life, hashtag quarantine crazy.
Right. Is it Monday or Wednesday? I don't know.
It's Thursday. Look at my hair. It's wacky. Lastly, Steve, Brian Dennehy.
Oh, yeah. That was the dad from
Tommy
Boy. Yeah. Chris Farley's dad in the movie. They did the dance.
He's in MASH. He was in Kojak. Really, really big actor. He passed away this past week. Would not have guessed. 80, what do they say? 81.
Was he really that old? Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Because so that probably puts him at late 50s, early 60s when Tommy Boy came out.
Right.
So, yeah, that's
just
totally...
non-COVID related, which is a weird thing to feel like you have to say in regards to people's deaths nowadays. But for me, this is weird because when I was on Twitter, this is the type of news I would hear about quick, right? Even in passing, it'd be either a retweet or somebody would mention it and I would then know. But I just found out about this 2 days after his death, looking for headlines to talk about for the Fast Five.
Fast Five.
So, I don't know. It's a weird byproduct, but Brian Dennehy dead at 81.
Yeah, that's a shame. I think everyone loved that movie and that relationship in that movie.
By all accounts, a good actor. I mean, it wasn't like he was, a guy people looked at as like, oh, I can't believe he got a break. But Brian Dennehy dead at 81. Before that, Steve, The Last Dance. We talked about that. The 10 hours, 2 hours a week for the next 5 Sundays. Well, the next 4 Sundays, as you talked about. This is not recorded in advance.
No, definitely not.
2 hours every Sunday for the foreseeable future in a sports-starved world. 10 hours about the Michael Jordan Bulls in the 90s, which I was too young and you weren't into sports, but did you have any idea that was like a contentious year and a contentious relationship?
No, I had no idea. Obviously, that was during that was when I was into sports, because that would have been when I was 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
So, but I was never into basketball, but even if you weren't into basketball, you still understood the scope of how big Michael Jordan was.
Yeah.
I think that I'm definitely intrigued to see it because Michael Jordan has never come off as being a very likable person.
No, he is not.
So, and he specifically said, I heard an interview with him last week where he said something like, he acknowledged that people are not going to like him when they watch this series.
Right.
And maybe unfairly because I haven't seen any of this yet, but I would imagine a lot of it. I mean, you're dealing with the most elite athletes in the world who are number one at what they do, so they're going to be intense. And looking at it 20 years down the road, it's probably, or 25 years down the road, it's probably not a very fair look into, who these people are.
Right, and at that point, he's in his mid to late 30s, and they're following him during a year, which all the advertisements show, absolute turmoil. And just in terms of, they announced Phil Jackson wasn't going to be back, and Michael Jordan had said, I'm not playing for anybody except for Phil Jackson. I'm not playing for anybody except for Phil Jackson. So, honestly, tensions were probably high throughout the whole year, and I'm sure that will be shown. already one of the most competitive people on the planet. So very exciting, though. Like it sounds like it's going to be fantastic. They sat down with Michael Jordan for 8+ hours, and the director said literally 0 people that he wanted said no. Wow. Everybody he wanted for this documentary said yes and sat down. So you're probably, I mean,
that's impressive.
I mean, you saw in the previews though, Carmen Electra. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it seems like everybody,
because she was married to Dennis Rodman at the time, right?
Yep. Yeah. She was part of a little bit of a part of the circus. So. Before that, Steve, Dana White, just months removed from calling everybody who wanted things canceled because of the coronavirus sissies. Mm-hmm. He's claiming he was forced by ESPN higher-ups to cancel everything.
Stand down, he was told.
Stand down was the term. Thank you, Steve, for the correction. But he is now back on board with saying May 9, he is holding an event, and obviously he's not going to say where. Florida has now opened the floodgates for people to run events there.
Well, of course. I mean, they were like the last. They were like the last state to shut down. So why wouldn't they be the first to reopen?
Well, yeah. And so they opened that by declaring the WWE an essential business. Mm-hmm. So now Dana White will probably run there. I saw images yesterday from Jacksonville Beach already, which is technically reopened, and within 20 minutes it was flooded by beachgoers. So if you're looking for a reinvigoration of the virus, look no further, as usual, than Florida.
Yes.
But before that, Steve, the NFL draft, we talked about that. I have a feeling like I could see you turning it on next Thursday night for a few minutes just to see how it looks and see if it's awkward, right? Like,
I'm sure that it will be. But yeah, like I said earlier, morbid curiosity.
And lastly, Steve, Ozark, the main question here. First of all, for me, I mentioned this week. Ozark has now approached Breaking Bad, and not quite The Sopranos, but Ozark has approached Breaking Bad levels of top-tier television for me.
Wow. That is definitely saying something.
For my money right now, my number one, like the best show of all time for me is The Sopranos. It's probably followed by Breaking Bad, but right on its heels is Ozark. Tremendous television to watch. It's so weird, though, just because a show like this on TV would probably be one that has gained buzz, kind of like a Breaking Bad, right? Like, where in between seasons, people are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And the next thing you know, Ozark explodes. But it's a streaming world where it just drops on a Friday in March.
You watch the whole season.
It all is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely weird the times that we live in with TV like that. Because, I mean, I remember I think it was because the last season of The Sopranos had like a part A and a part B.
Yeah, because the writers' strike, yeah.
So there was like 6 episodes, and then it was almost 2 years before you watched those last 5 or 6 episodes.
What a build-up.
That's insane. And now, like you said, we can just, what should I watch today? Oh, let me watch an entire season of this show.
Yeah.
So that is on our list of shows that we want to watch.
Yep. So
but
what
we just started,
are you catching up on? I'm excited to hear. This is big news.
I think you'll appreciate it because...
Is it Cheers? It's Cheers! Where everybody knows your name, Steve. It's Cheers!
It is not Cheers.
Oh.
Maybe once we finish Ozark, we'll dig into the... Was it 270-some episodes?
270 half-hour episodes of an American classic, Cheers.
No, we are watching the prequel to Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay. Are those all on Netflix now?
First 4 seasons are on Netflix.
Season 5 is airing right now. That's right. I got through, I think, into Season 4, and then we switched our cable provider, so we lost all of our DVR.
Oh, that sucks.
DVR episodes. So I've been waiting because for the longest time they only had Seasons 1 and 2 on Netflix. So I need to go back and get myself caught up on Better Call Saul, which a lot of people now saying, Steve, Better Call Saul as good or better than its predecessor, Breaking Bad.
Well, we are through Season 1. I think we're 2 or 3 episodes into Season 2. And it's phenomenal so far.
Yeah,
now, I had started watching it years ago.
Yeah.
I watched all of Season 1, and I think basically what I've watched so far, like in the last week or two, is about where I got to a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, just didn't keep watching it. I think I was watching it as it was airing, so it was like watch one episode, wait a week, watch another episode, and for whatever reason I just got distracted and started watching something else or got busy and never finished it. But so Annette had never seen it. Last week we said, let's actually start watching this. We breezed through the first season, watched a couple episodes of season 2 last night, and we love it. We're hooked.
I would argue those middle seasons like 2 and 3 are probably better than even number 1. Like jaw-dropping moments. If you watch Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul is an absolute must-watch. If you enjoyed and you don't even have to have watched and enjoyed Breaking Bad.
Really, you don't need to have watched it at all.
No. Now, granted, it sounds like this season, and I haven't watched season 5. They do introduce characters from Breaking Bad,
so the timelines are starting to
it starts to line because I believe this is the last season, or next season is the last season.
I'm not sure.
They've announced an end date, so you're going to start to see Better Call Saul bleed into the Breaking Bad universe to where they kind of make one very, very long timeline. That was it for me, Steve. That was the Fast Five on mine. It took way too long as usual.
That's all right. We'll jump into mine real quick.
Fast Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, first on my list, the Fast Five, something near and dear to our hearts here in the great state of Michigan, the Lansing Protest from last week or the week before. Were you there? You were there, right?
Yeah, I took my car there, I hopped out, and I was hugging everybody I could find, hobnobbing with all my other genius friends who decided to go clog up the state's capital because they wanted to be able to go to a concert.
And go fishing.
Listen, I get if you're upset about some of the details. Obviously, these stay-at-home orders were kind of, made on the fly. But you know what? I'm sorry. We'll talk about that.
On the turnaround. Yeah. Okay, next on the list is... now, this is something not related to anything going on right now. Randomly popped in my head earlier today. You announced a while back on the main podcast that you're a bit of a breadhead. You love bread.
Oh, yeah. I forgot my username. I want to say it was Breadhead69.
Something like that,
yeah.
Thoughts on banana bread?
I might upset some folks here, Steve.
Okay.
Overrated.
Really? Not a fan?
It's okay, but never once in my life in terms of, like, not just flavored bread, but, it's kind of like a dessert piece, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a dessert bread.
I've never once said, boy, ice cream's good, but it sounds better. Give me a piece of banana bread. Banana bread for me
when I say dessert, it's not. I mean, it's not on the same tier, as your cakes and cookies and ice creams and pies.
Yep. Yeah, I've never if banana bread is in front of me, I'll eat it. But I haven't been like, hey, let's dig up a recipe for banana bread. See if we can make a loaf.
I would have said the same thing, but last week, Annette was like, I'm kind of craving banana bread. And I was like, all right, whatever. She made it. I love it. She's already made a second loaf of it. Excellent.
Really?
Yeah.
So you guys are just going to have a banana loaf, assembly line over there? Where
crush up some walnuts, put the walnuts in there.
When I eventually come back to APS 3.0 to start recording again, it's just going to smell like banana bread all the time?
Yeah. I mean... It's not a bad smell to have. All right, next. We're getting lost in the weeds here on banana bread.
Yes,
next.
Apologies.
Now, this one is college football, but kind of sports in general. The return of college football. When is that going to happen? There's a lot of scuttle about what's going on with that.
Well, I mean, if you want to listen to the blue blood head coaches of power college football programs, they're going to kick coronavirus in the teeth. And this is the United States of America, Steve.
It's America, man.
We're not going to let some little respiratory illness stop.
No, man.
Hundreds of thousands of people congregating.
More people die in car accidents than have died of coronavirus.
We're not going to let this little thing get in the way of hundreds of thousands of people congregating in parking lots and shooting Smirnoff ices off of each other before a noon kickoff of unpaid college athletes, damn it. We can't allow it. Much like the NFL, I think they're trying to act like everything's normal. And I think they're really, I think all of these organizations are in finger-crossing mode, Steve, whether professional or collegiate. just fingers crossed that by the summer everything's cooled down, that they can get an okay to start holding meetings.
Boy.
And I don't see it
That's
happening.
wishful thinking.
I don't see it happening. So,
and next, Ozark.
Oh, man.
We already talked about it at great length.
Love it.
So we'll skip right over that. And number 5, Chris Cuomo, the CNN anchor.
Yeah. We've talked about him a few times. Obviously, the brother of Andrew Cuomo. Have those interactions jumped the shark for you yet, Steve?
No, not yet. But more specifically, did you hear the audio of Chris Cuomo on some podcast earlier this week?
No, and I tell you, this is what happens. I leave social media and I don't get the breaking newser that I need, that I'm so used to. So no, I did not. Is he in some hot water?
No, he kind of had like an existential moment where he talked about how having coronavirus has kind of put things in perspective for him.
Oh, okay.
He talked about how he hates what he does. Like, he doesn't enjoy doing what he's doing. He's
like
tired
being
of having
on the news? Or?
Yeah. He really it was a big thing. He seems really defeated, and he's like, I shouldn't have to. I don't like having to argue with an idiot president and things like that.
Wow, you know what? I mean, I think everybody hits their breaking point, and maybe being sequestered with the coronavirus as loons in certain states protest a state capitol, maybe that's what put him over the edge finally.
Who knows? It'll be interesting to see if he backs off of that once things kind of resume. Once things go back to normal.
Right. Wow, good for him. Good for him, to realize that.
Before that, we had Ozark, which we've already talked about at great length, so we'll skip over that. College football, do you think that there's going to be a regular college football season?
I don't think it'll be regular by the terms that we're referring to as, right? I think we're staring at best, a shortened season, probably with no fans, which is weird. And for college football, the fans mean a little bit more than in the pros, where the TV money kicks in a little higher. So I don't know. This is, I feel like we can't really say anything definitively, obviously, until either things are opened up against better judgment or not. Things are started to open up again, and we see how the virus spreads or stops. But I can't see sports this fall going off without a hitch like we're used to.
Did you see that your team's rival, the University of Michigan, announced earlier in the week that they would be, or maybe last week, they announced that they would be refunding like season ticket amounts for anyone who purchased season tickets. Obviously, if things get canceled.
Oh, wow.
They should.
That should be a normal. Yeah.
That shouldn't be a news story because you took money for something that you're then not going to be able to provide.
Right.
So there shouldn't be accolades for them like, oh, boy, that's just
about them doing the right thing.
Yeah, you're supposed to do the right thing.
Yeah, no, that's the expected thing. Yeah. Listen, I literally can't attend. Why should I have to pay for this? Well, it's a privilege.
Sure. Okay, before that, banana bread.
Yeah, maybe this is the proverbial meatloaf and steak situation, Steve. Maybe I just need to have some. And again, the banana bread I've had tasted like all the banana bread I've had. I just take it or leave it.
Next time you're here, we'll have a nice little spread.
All right, we'll see you in
down
2021.
Here. banana breads. Before that, the Lansing Protest.
Yeah, a bunch of geniuses decided to go there and block roads and honk their horns and complain. Listen, we talked about it. These orders were crafted quickly. And are there absolute instances where it's a head scratcher? Sure. There's no question. The fact that I'm still working and declared essential in my industry, Steve, is a head scratcher. I don't care. I'm okay. I've accepted it now. But then the fact that somebody can't come mow a lawn, it just listen. There's loops or loopholes in all of these things, and would I like to see it corrected? Absolutely. I don't know that this was a method to get the attention and get it done the way you want it, though.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say everyone there was stupid or they did this or they did. Look, if you showed up to that protest, stayed in your car, you had a sign on the outside of it, and just drove through, cool. I'm fine with that. Like that is, I absolutely support your right to protest.
Sure.
But if you got out of your car and gathered in a large group, now you're putting other people at risk.
Yeah, it's
willful
ignorance. Yep, absolutely.
You're being extremely selfish because you can't go fishing when you want to. Like you can't ride your speedboat. There were people that were upset because they couldn't buy seeds at certain stores. Like you can still buy them, you just can't buy them at stores that are more than 50,000 square feet. You know, there are ways to get the things that you still want.
Yep.
I understand that you're disappointed that you can't do things the way that you normally do. But I don't know, if somebody were to ask me, hey, can you stay inside for a month? It's going to save millions of lives. I'm like, all right, yeah, it kind of sucks. It sucks that we have to do that we weren't better prepared for this in the first place. But if I can sacrifice a little bit, spend a little time inside, okay, no problem. I'm organizing nuts and bolts for enjoyment. Like, it sucks. Nobody wants to do this, but just do it. Why does this have to be political?
Yeah, you might be bummed out that you can't buy your ghost pepper seeds to plant on your deck. I would be more bummed out if one of my parents contracted this disease and was critically ill in the hospital. So I guess let me put that on the back burner so you can have some onions or some radishes in 6 months. Like,
I did appreciate that people were protesting not being able to like go outside and plant their tomatoes on a day that it was actually snowing.
Yeah. Like I just. It's a big old joke. I don't know. There's somehow, of course it did though. Of course, this massive thing has turned overly political and nasty, and it's sadder than it has to be, right? You know, like it's already a terrible, horrific situation, and. I mean, honestly, this is what made me delete my Twitter. I could not handle this anymore. Not just the news. I like the news. I feel like I need to ingest that news. But I literally could not deal with the people making this, whether it's A, a hoax, B, a political argument. I couldn't do it anymore, Steve. And it's incredibly sad that it's come to this point.
Well, we've done it once again. We've ended on a real bummer, so don't worry.
2 times in a week.
Don't worry. I have a joke of the day lined up. Are you ready for it?
God, yes, sir. Please lighten the mood.
I mean, this isn't a joke. This is a funny thing that I just noticed in the world.
Hey,
you know, I was at the bar the other night.
Oh, Steve, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, but I mean, you were anyway.
A ham sandwich walked into the bar and ordered a beer.
Oh.
The bartender said, "Sorry, we don't serve food here." That is a true story that happened.
Oh, man, I sure hope you guys stayed 6 feet apart. And didn't go to that closed-down bar, but I can't be your guardian, too.
Well, I think on that happy note, we're going to end this episode of the Fast Five.
Another successful week of the Fast Five. Boy, everything's coronavirus related. Jeez, oh Pete. Oh, except for banana bread. I apologize.
Yeah, banana bread. Banana bread is our North Star in this time of great despair. Just keep looking towards the banana bread. Things will be better. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Steve and Kyle. And we'll be back next week with another full-length episode. Goodbye.
Yep, thanks.